Hi, this video is all about the government's Help to Buy scheme and specifically the new scheme that was introduced this year and applies to loans starting from this week, so April 2021. The government first introduced Help to Buy back in 2013 and over 240,000 people have used it to buy a home, and that scheme came to an end at the end of last year and has now been replaced by a scheme which will run from now, so April 2021 until 2023. The government has introduced a couple of very significant changes to the schemes in terms of eligibility and how it works. I'm going to talk through that and then generally overall how the scheme works as well. So the idea was to help people buy property and also to boost the housing market and specifically the new build market. But the two major changes that have now been introduced is that the scheme only applies to first time buyers. The old scheme could be used by anyone, which I don't think was particularly well known at the time. The government has introduced regional caps, so the amount that you can borrow under the scheme and the homes that it applies to varies depending on where you're looking to buy. The way that the scheme operates is that the government will loan up to 20% of the property's value. The idea being that the purchaser raises a minimum of 5% and then the equity loan makes up the remaining 20%, and then the purchaser has to borrow, so get a mortgage for the remaining 75%. You can make it work so that you've got a bigger deposit, but for the purposes of this video, I will proceed on the basis that the contribution is 5% from the purchaser and then 20% from the government. That does vary for London, and there the loan can be up to 40% of the property's value. And again, to reiterate, it's only available for new build properties. And now under the new scheme, you must be a first-time buyer. And that means that you've not bought a home in the UK or abroad before. And if you're married or buying jointly, then both of you actually have to be a first-time buyer. The loan is interest-free for the first 5 years. All that will happen is that you will pay a £1 management fee each month. So as I said, the biggest change introduced in this new scheme is the regional caps. And what the government has done is split the country, and I should reiterate this is for England only, so the scheme only applies in England. There's a similar scheme in Wales, but focusing on England only, the government have split into certain areas and looked at the average house price in autumn 2018 and taken the cap at 1.5 times that figure. So, as expected, there's a bit of a north-south divide, so I'll just put up on the screen the different caps, but you'll see the lowest is the North East, £186,000 just over, the West Midlands just over 255,000, and in London 600,000. There are reports that many of the homes that used to be eligible will no longer be eligible for the scheme, particularly larger sized properties in the north and sort of across the board. There also is a big controversy in terms of the borders of certain areas, so you may end up in a situation where developments could be, a couple of miles away as the crow flies, but because they are in different areas, then a different cap would apply, so the potentially size of the house in the development will vary in terms of what is eligible for Help to Buy. There's some reports that in northern areas over half the homes are now actually available under the scheme, so that will have a big impact. I think bearing in mind that it's now only aimed at first time buyers, that's not a huge surprise, and I don't necessarily think it's a particularly bad thing. So again, it's interest free for the first 5 years apart from the £1 management fee per month. You won't have anything to pay. After 5 years, you're charged interest of 1.75%, and then after year 6, then that goes up by the consumer price index plus 2%. So when compared to a normal sort of mortgage, money saving experts looked at and compared some of the figures, and up to the first 10 years the Help to Buy usually, and it's all averages, works out to be less expensive, but then after that the cost of the loan does increase, and that's when it's getting into really expensive territory in terms of the loan. But that's a number of years down the line, and who knows what will happen period. So how can you pay back the loan? There are a couple of options here. You have to pay back the loan when you sell the property or after 25 years, which for most people would be the end of their mortgage term. However, you do have the option of either paying it back, remortgaging at the end of your deal. I'll link my whether you should pay the Help to Buy loan video here. That's definitely worth a watch if that's something that you're considering, because I really break down the figures and do some comparisons. But there's also the option of what they call staircasing the loan. So you can make partial payments, but it's not akin to overpayments on a mortgage. You have to pay off at least 10%, so effectively 2 different stages if you've got a 20% loan. So that's something to factor in as well. And there's quite a strict process that you have to go through in terms of paying it off, which includes payment for a valuation to verify the market value of the property, as well as some administrative charges. And again, to reiterate, the way that the loan works is that the government is taking a percentage of the value of the property. So this means that if you were giving a 20% loan, they effectively own a 20% stake in the property. And if your property increases in value, so will the value of the loan, so the amount that you have to pay back. If the property decreases in value, then so does the amount that you have to pay back. So, if, as we all probably hope, that property prices will increase, you will end up paying more back to the government when the property's sold or when the loan is paid back. So just a practical example, if the house that you purchased was £200,000, you'd have borrowed £40,000. If in the interim that price has increased to say £250,000 when you sell, then you would have to pay back £50,000. But the way that I like to look at it is that the government gets that 20% of any increase, but remember that you will get shared with your mortgage provider the 80% increase. So, you are given the opportunity to build that equity. It's not all going to the government, but, you've got to be aware that it's probably likely that the amount that you pay back will be more. So if Help to Buy is something that you're thinking about, it's definitely worth weighing up the pros and cons. Something great about it is that you can get on the property ladder with a 5% deposit. Because of the loan that you're getting from the government, it also lowers your loan to value ratio in terms of the mortgage that you would need, which often means that you get access to better mortgage rates. However, on the flip side, you will find that some lenders won't lend on Help to Buy properties, so that there is probably a smaller market in terms of lenders. As I've said, if the value of the property does fall, so does the amount that you owe, but there is a warning from the FCA about the risk of Help to Buy and the potential for negative equity. There's concern because of the potential inflation of prices and a new build premium that, if property prices were to fall, be quite a lot of people in negative equity. So again, something to bear in mind. A previous criticism of the scheme as well, that it was really just boosting potential borrowing power of some rather than targeting those who actually needed the help. I mean, I think the government sort of tried to tailor that in making it now only for first-time buyers. But, the idea is to get people on the property ladder. So it's not, people don't have to use it, but that was just one of the criticisms. Also, you can only use it to buy new build properties, which in of themselves have some, additional costs associated with that. I'll link the video that I've done just sharing some of the things to ask developers and things to bear in mind for the budget if you are looking to purchase a new build property, so definitely check that out. So I hope that was useful. A quick rundown of the new 2021 Help to Buy scheme that's now only for first time buyers, got to be a new build property in England, and check out the caps in your area. The way that you apply is finding a property that qualifies. First of all, make sure that you qualify and that you're a first time buyer, then get in touch with a Help to Buy agent to make sure that you're aware of the process and what has to happen. But don't forget, also do your research in terms of whether you actually need the scheme. Can you afford to purchase without it? Look at getting advice from a mortgage broker to explore potential affordability. And it's also worth bearing in mind the other government schemes available, so the LISA, that you can get a £1,000 per tax year bonus from the government to put towards your first property. So definitely check that out as well, because there's plenty of options when you're saving for your first home. I've used the old scheme to help purchase my first property, easy, and you know, I'm really a fan. I like new builds. I like the ease of getting in there and everything being done, and the sort of estate and community feel, and definitely helped to sort of stretch in terms of what I could afford for the first house. So I'm a big supporter of it. Let me know your thoughts if you've used Help to Buy, or if you've had any bad experiences of it. Be really interested to hear that. And I'm going to do some more videos in terms of house buying and Help to Buy, so please subscribe if you think that would be useful, and thanks for watching.